So the things that I can recommend will risk banality because they'll be so primary, they'll be so basic. First of all, it's important to read widely and to encounter the tradition in its fullness in the only way any one of us ever can, which is piecemeal and partially, but tasting of as much as possible, as well as you can, but also not overburdening yourself with the sense of having to master everything before moving on. Sometimes you only need to read 10 pages of a book to get the nourishment it's going to give to you. Sometimes you need to read all 2,000. It just depends on the book, but don't belabor the point. Just read widely. Try to rediscover the great riches of the church, not within any one century, but across the centuries. To read the church fathers prayerfully, but also freely, with a sense of drawing from them what you can. But not confining oneself to anyone. Read also, of course, from classical civilization. As Pope Benedict XVI said more than once, it was no accident. It was undoubtedly providence that led God to spread the message of Christ into the heart of the Roman Empire, so that the philosophical language of Greek and Latin could root itself in and make articulate to ever new cultures the great truths of the gospel. So knowing Plato and Aristotle is very important. Knowing your Homer and Horace and Catullus, even vulgar though he is very important to know. The other thing is recognizing the importance of craft. That it is, of course, one of the great modern heresies that art has anything to do with self-expression. The self is only of interest insofar as it participates in something greater than itself, insofar as it's one of the souls that Dionysius the Areopagite said proceed out from the good and return to it in the pattern of the cosmos. And so not only seek to store yourself with the good things of civilization that will transform your soul, but seek to have your soul always be outward looking, and so when you choose to make something, whether it's a film or a novel or a poem or a piece of music, to recognize that emptying yourself for the sake of the craft and traditions of that art form is absolutely essential. Jacques Maritain said, I'll invoke him one last time today, he said that there's a certain kinship between the sage, the saint, and the artist. And that's because each of these three things are instances of kenosis, of pouring oneself out into reality for the philosopher, into grace for the saint, and into the made stuff of being for the artist. So works of art are not about ourselves, but about the thing that we make. But to make well, we have to master craft. We have to master the traditions of making that our ancestors worked pretty hard to develop if we're going to make anything good ourselves. Finally, just recognize that in this incredibly destabilized age where we really don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow, and we certainly don't know what's going to happen in the next few years, and where we have good reason in many ways to expect the worst, but also to anticipate new lights in the darkness and new signs of growth and birth, that the track for these things is cannot be mundane. It must, as I said at the outset, be crooked. That chances are most of us will not practice the arts that we love as a career, but as an avocation, as something either far to the side of what we're doing with our daily life or just a little bit to the side. And to recognize that that's fine, and that's in fact a good and necessary thing, because it will allow our contributions to the culture to percolate and proliferate well beyond, say, the confines of the approved literary milieu, well beyond the academy, which, at least in the United States, has done great harm to the life of the arts over the last century. And it will also keep you limber and leave you prepared to do new and good things that you might not otherwise have dared, because you don't really owe anything to anyone.